That Gixxer 1000, a 1000 is making 109 horsepower with 59 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, I tried, it won't fit. You know how that goes. What's up, guys? So today we have a 2006 Gixxer 1000. I wanted to go over something today. I noticed it when this customer came in. I asked him if we could film it real quick. He said absolutely. He'd love to see his bike on YouTube, so here we are. With this particular bike, it's got quite a history. This owner has had it for a few years now, and it's been through a couple of different transformations. He had a different style exhaust, and now he is running a full M4 system. So with this full M4 system, he decided to install the silencer, the DB killers, some companies call it. They call it a baffle. It depends on who you're purchasing it from, but they all have kind of like different names for it. And this one, I believe they call it the silencer. We call it silencers because that's kind of what it does, is it really lowers the decibel rating on the exhaust. Most people do this because of their community that they live in. A lot of times, you know, you get people that complain because of the noise. It happens. So it's unfortunate, but it happens. Not all of us are motorheads. Not all of us love the sound of a good exhaust. God forbid we offend anybody these days. I notified the customer this, and what was going to happen is a lot of times what we see is the bike will actually run very rich because it creates a lot of back pressure. So it'll run very rich, and then not only that, but it really inhibits the power of the bike. So the way I describe it as the best that I can is imagine you're trying to run a marathon or you're trying to run a sprint and you're trying to breathe. Now, while you're breathing, I hand you a coffee straw and I say, you can only breathe out of this coffee straw. Now go do sprints. It's going to be a lot harder than as if you're breathing normally, like with no obstruction at all. So that's kind of what's going on when you install a silencer or whenever you have the catalytic converter on the bike. That's typically what we see. Is a lot of the times we see it kind of choking it. It's literally not allowing the motor to breathe properly. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this silencer, and it looks like it's been in here for quite a while now. Here, let me point it out to you. So here it is, and look at that opening. That's like maybe a 1-inch opening, maybe. So there's a snap ring right here that holds these silencers in. So, and again, look at this opening. I can't even fit 2 fingers in. I tried, it won't fit. You know how that goes. So, needless to say, what we're gonna do is we're gonna run this. I can't even put my sniffer in there, because let me get a flashlight. There's actually a back plate in there too. You see that back plate? You can kind of see it, but you see that back plate in there? That literally is stopping all the airflow. That is a very tiny opening. That's probably smaller than OEM. So needless to say, we're gonna pull that out. However, I first wanted to run this bike just so you guys can get a really good understanding of how much power these things really pull out of the bike. And then what we're gonna do, we'll pull it out, we'll rerun the bike, so that way you can see just how much power you'll gain from yanking those things out, those of you who are running it. Now, there's a catch. Those of you who are running that silencer, I usually recommend you do it if you do not have a tune, because it kind of puts you back onto, it kind of puts you back into like the stock tune, if you will, the stock parameters. So basically what I mean by that is if you don't have a tune, it's best to run those because it's as close as a stock exhaust, more or less, that you can get. So the bike doesn't lean out, or it doesn't alter your air-fuel ratios. So whenever you're on the dyno and you're getting ready to tune and all that jazz, let the tuner pull it. As long as they know what they're doing, let them pull it, so that way the bike is still safe and you're not running lean, or you're not running some kind of crazy air-fuel ratio, or you know, whatever. You're just not running anything crazy, and they can analyze it and they can tune it while it's on the dyno. Again, so that way you're kind of being safe with your bike. You know it's not running lean when they have those silencers in there, for the most part. Again, it's all circumstantial. I've seen crazy stuff. However, 9 times out of the 10, leave that silencer in if you do not have a tune, so therefore that at least you're not doing any damage to the bike, okay? With that being said, let's dig into it. Let me warm this bad boy up, and let's get some baseline numbers in and get this thing moving. Okay guys, so very quickly, we just got done baselining the bike with the silencer installed. So I wanted to go over the numbers real quick. And again, just remember the silencer was extremely small, okay? So here's what we're dealing with. That Gixxer 1000, a 1000 is making 109 horsepower with 59 foot-pounds of torque, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure you guys are well aware these things should produce around 160 to about 170 wheel horsepower. That's with the final tune and all the bells and whistles thrown at it. This bike is stretched, and we are running a 530 chain, so I'm expecting to see a little bit lower of a number than that, probably around the 160s, like low 160s, but still, definitely not a 109. That's about a 600cc bike. And look at the air fuel. Look at this. It tanks. It is running so freaking rich. And then look up top here. It literally is so restrictive that the bike started actually knocking and it dropped power. And basically we have this little flick here just because I was ending the sample and it was trying to make power again. But long story short, it is running absolutely horrible. And this is exactly what the customer was stating. He was telling us, man, the gas mileage sucks. It's running like crap. I know something's wrong. And it's a great thing he brought it in, because if he would have kept running on this bike, it would have just done nothing but gotten worse and worse. And honestly, this can create a lot of engine damage because there's just way too much back pressure. There's a lot of shops and a lot of people out there that preach about having the right amount of back pressure and stuff like that, which is true. You need to have some kind of back pressure, but obviously in this case, that little freaking pinhole, that little 1-inch opening is way too small. So what I wanted to show you guys now is actually take a look at this. Look at the actual opening that we have now. Now we sprayed a little bit of WD-40 to get the snap ring out. It was pretty stuck in there because again, it had been sitting there for a long time. But remember last time I could barely put 2 fingers in. Now look, we got about 3 fingers. So we're dealing with about a 2 1/4 inch opening at least right here, maybe even like 2.5. So much larger than that 1-inch opening earlier. So a little update on the bike so far. What we've done here is we've found a slew of issues. The customer was complaining about speed issues, fuel pump issues. We were seeing a bunch of different issues obviously in the graphs, and it was running very rich. And here are some of the problems that we found when we went to go actually tune the bike. We started to dig into the bike and get into the harness and everything, and that's when we started noticing some issues. Now on these older bikes, and I've witnessed this personally on one that we did a built head on. I was getting the bike ready for the customer. Long story short, I gave the bike a bath, and I was detailing the bike. Long story short, the customer comes in to pick up his brand new built head Gixxer 1000. We go to start the bike, it won't start. And it really threw me for a curve. And what ended up happening is water seeped down behind the seat here and trickled down into here, which is the main plugs for the ECU. This is where the ECU is located on this bike. And what ended up happening is it shorted out these plugs, and it would not allow the bike to start. It took me a while to find it. We took the plugs all apart. I blew it all out with water. And after we blew it out with water, we blew the water out with air. And once we got all the water out of it, we plugged it all back in, we dried it off, plugged it back in, the bike fired right up. But the customer ended up coming back. It was late at night. He ended up coming back the next day to pick up the bike. Pretty embarrassing, but hey, it happens. We're human, right? So anyways, I wanted to show you some of the things that we were swapping out.
again, when we were tuning the bike or when we were running the bike, we noticed that even though we took the silencer out of this bike, the air-fuel ratio started to lean out. However, we did still have some ignition cut issues and things of that nature. Well, look at these plugs. And I don't know if you can see it, but this plug has a ton of signs that it's burning extremely rich, way too much fuel. It's got carbon built up, etc., etc. And this is not just the one plug, this is all 4 plugs, okay? Now, this customer did state it's been a long time since he's checked. He said he wasn't sure, but that's why he wanted to bring it into us. He knew something was off, and sure enough, it is way off. So all of these plugs, as you can tell, were burning extremely rich, which means it has way too much fuel in the system. And as you can notice, the whole plug here, it's all black. The grounding strap is black. Even the porcelain on the inside here on the electrode area, even all of that is black. So whenever you see stuff like that, it's pretty much the plugs are shot. And so what we do is we replace these with the same laser iridiums, the CR9 EIA NGK plugs. Now we did decide to do the ignition coils here, and that was really mainly, we put in a brand new OEM set, and that was mainly just because, again, the customer was like, look, I love this bike, I'm gonna keep the bike. The bike is clear, it's super clean. I mean, it looks damn near brand new. And it's got a high mileage. I want to say he's at like, let's see here. Let's actually check the mileage. We'll check it together. 22,000. Okay, so that's not super high, but it's definitely got a decent amount of mileage on it. But the bike is very clean. I mean, this thing is beautiful, right? Barely any kind of little scratches on it. I mean, even if it does have a scratch, it's very minuscule. It's hard to tell. It's just a very clean bike. So anyway, needless to say, he wanted to do a little extra maintenance. So he said, give me a new set of coils. I plan on keeping the bike. So we ordered new coils. And then here was the ECU. So this was kind of a hard find, but when we started to get into the flashing, and I don't know if you can see it in this camera, but he's actually missing a pin up here in the top left area. If you can see that, I don't know if I can catch it, but he's missing a whole pin off the ECU. And that pin links to the fuel pump, and it also links to the cluster, as well as one other thing. I think it was the fuel pump relay, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. We pulled up the wiring diagram, and I was like, well, this is definitely gonna cause some problems. So we swapped that out, and along with that, his old harness, it was pretty corroded too. We went to go move the wiring or something, I forgot now because it's been a few days since we ordered everything, but we went to go move one of these wires to depin it from the ECU. I want to say it was the actual wire that was corroded, which is going to be that red right here, the red with blue tracer. We went to go, that's what it was. We went to go depin that wire from the harness, and when we went to go depin it, the wire literally broke off because it had so much corrosion. That corrosion had been built up for months, if not years. Which again, it's very common. If the bike sits outside, it's gonna get water in there, it's gonna get corroded. So if you have an older bike like these 06s, check on it. The 07 is like this, the 08 is like this as well. So just check on it, you know, just look in there. If you got this greenish kind of bluish green hue, that's corrosion. So just make sure that it's cleaned out. Use some, we use like a lithium grease. Use that, it helps. But anyway, the last thing that we also did besides, so we swapped out the entire harness because he also had some other splicing. They had some wires or lights on this bike. So we swapped out the whole harness. The last thing he wanted to do is we took out this old K&N air filter and we actually put a DNA air filter in. So that's the last thing that he wanted us to swap out. So we definitely swapped a few parts out of this bike. And what we're gonna do at the end of the video when we're done tuning it, we're gonna overlay how it came in, so his actual baseline. Then we're gonna stack it against pulling the silencer out, which still had some issues. And then we're gonna overlay it with the final tune with everything all said and done. So I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna be very surprised at the end result. And again, he brought the bike in because it just felt off. Okay, it's not like he was like, oh, this bike sucks, it's blah, blah, blah. No, he just said, hey, something feels off. It just doesn't feel as strong as it used to. And that's it. That was his complaint. So if your bike feels off, It feels slower than usual. You should really get it checked out. So I highly suggest you take it into a reputable shop or a dealership or whoever, just somewhere where they have a good reputation, and have it checked out, okay? More than likely you have some kind of issue going on with the bike, and it could be something as serious as an engine failure, but it also could be that you just need a ton of maintenance done and you need to get caught up on all your maintenance, okay? So usually what I tell people before they come in, or even when they come in, is, hey, has the maintenance been done? If it hasn't been done, we are more than happy to do it, because the last thing you want to do is beat the crap out of the bike on the dyno and have some kind of maintenance issue. So anyway, let me get to work. Let's get this thing dynoed, and we'll get some results on the board, okay? So we finally got that 06 Gixxer 1000 knocked out, and what a massive difference this is. The client originally came in saying he feels like the bike is a little low on power, or he feels like the bike is low on power, okay? He didn't say this bike's running like crap. He didn't say, dude, something's wrong with the bike. He just said, hey, I feel like it's a little low on power and I just want to get it checked out, okay? Bike has already been tuned by another shop. It already had like other extensive work done. It was a beautiful bike and the work that was done was correct. However, going through all the steps, finding all of the issues that we found, obviously those are going to create massive problems with the power band, and amongst a lot of other things. Sensors aren't reading correctly, you name it, it can create a plethora of issues. Whenever it comes to electrical, a lot of times that stuff is all intertwined, and multiple sensors read off similar wires. They share wiring, so they share the circuitry is what I should say, and you run into major issues such as that. So let's go over the graphs. So the green line was completely stock. That's how the bike came in. We were at a whopping 109 horsepower with 59 foot-pounds of torque. And look, it's the green curvature here. It's the green graph here. We'll highlight it so you guys can see it easier. Notice how at the beginning we have some torque pickup. It has a torque drop. Same thing with a horsepower. It drops off, but then it picks up. And it starts to climb, and then look at this torque curve. Torque curve falls on its face again, so this horsepower kind of plateaus. It's in like this dead zone area. And then at, let's see, this is at 7,500. So at 7,500 and on, it tries to pick back up, but again, keeps falling on its face. And then we get up here around the 11,400 range, and it's just completely done. There's no sense in running it out anything past that. We were running a very rich AFR mixture. Air fuel ratio, we were at 10.0. We're basically off the charts. It was running so rich. Now he had that silencer in it, and we had a bunch of electrical problems. So that was that baseline. The next one that we went to is once we resolved all the problems. So again, we did a new ECU, we did a new wiring harness, new ignition coils, new spark plugs. We went through this thing and made sure that all the problems were solved for the customer. Look at what happened now. Now this is no tuning, this was just fixing everything. We went from 109 to 147 horsepower with 68 foot-pounds of torque. So we gained 9 foot-pounds of torque and basically 40 horsepower, a little under 40 horsepower, which is incredible. I mean, look at the differences in the graphs. I mean, this is massive jumps right here. If we take the lowest point here on that baseline curve, we were at 82 horsepower and we went up to 142. I mean, that's insane. We're at a 60 horsepower jump in power. That's ridiculous. It's outstanding. Here, we'll take the peak. We're at 109 comparative to 134, and this is at 10,400 RPM. Again, we're still talking about, what, about a 25 horsepower gain, 25 wheel horsepower gain, and a 13 wheel torque jump, which is, again, just massive jumps. You're talking about a 30%, 25% gain, which is monumental. And now we'll take the final curve. Oh, and I wanted to point this out too. Notice here, look at the air-fuel ratio with that stock setup. We went very, very rich around the 4,000, 4,200 mark. We're at 10.0 air fuel, so it's just chugging fuel in there. And then look what happens around the 6,000 mark. We're at 14.4. It's a little lean. I don't like it that lean. I like it a little richer than that. I'd like it to be around 13.5, 13.7 around this area. And then finally it dips down again and we start to run pig rich again, 11.9, 11.7, 11.5. Again, this is just way too much fuel. So we fix that amongst other things, and then we'll move on to the final. And here's the final numbers. We are at 158 wheel horsepower with 74 foot-pounds of torque. So again, just massive, massive gains, right back where this bike should be. Now it was stretched, so we're not gonna see the 160s on this bike. It did have a 530 chain. You know, it's definitely set up for more durability versus, you know, versus horsepower per se, and set up more for, you know, dig racing style. And so look, we'll look at this, 82 again, 154 wheel horsepower, just huge gains. We're talking about 72 horsepower jump, 72, that's huge. That's not even to say up here at Redline. There wasn't even a baseline to compare to. So this guy's gonna be thrilled. We've already spoke to him after the fact. We got done with this bike a little bit ago, so he is thrilled. He's beyond happy with the results. He left us a great Google review. Thank you for that. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please put your input down below. If you're having issues like this, make a comment. You know, go through it. I'm sure there's some of us in the comment section that are actually glad to help you out if you are running through some kind of problems. So go ahead, list your issues out. Tell me what you think of this video. Let me know your opinions, good, bad, and different. Let us know what you guys want to see. We want to adhere to that, and we want to start filming more what popular demand is. So leave us a comment for suggestions for future videos. We have a few really cool videos coming out. We got a land speed turbocharged ZX-14R that we're in the middle of right now. We have our shop H2 bike that we're doing, and a couple of the other shop bikes. One of my personal one, the 2016 ZX-10. That one's gonna be going on the dyno here again very soon with some more little surprises. So be sure to keep checking in with us, seeing all the updates. We really appreciate the support. The channel is growing amazingly well. I couldn't be happier. Thanks to you guys. We really, really appreciate the support. All the love, everything. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Be safe. We'll see you on another episode.